When I say it's okay to be dangerous, I mean as an earth sign rising, whether that's Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, the only path to wealth for you is to make being dangerous and make danger okay. In my last two videos, which I will link below, I talked about the money axis, how 8th house is where we make wealth and the 2nd house is the self-employment house. And if you're an earth rising sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you will have a fire sign in your 8th house, which means that you need to walk through fire to make wealth. And really to make good, like big money, as opposed to just month to month, have a thing going and it's okay and it works, but it's eventually you grow out of it. And then you either keep yourself under in that 2nd house of self-employment, or you step out into your 8th house and walk through fire. Hence the danger. Earth sign, earth as an element, is meant to be stable, steady, something you can rest on, you can stand on safely, right? So danger is like, no, it's a danger zone proper, right? This also means that an earth rising sign, in order to make good money, will have to make being dangerous, because that is you working in your 8th house with a client, and being okay with danger because that is the experience that your client is going through in the most amazing ways, which I will expand on in a bit. So you have to make yourself be okay with those two layers of danger, two coins, two sides of the same coin. Like you have to be okay with being dangerous to your client, obviously not literally, but symbolically. And like I say, we'll go into that in a moment. And you have to be okay that your client is going to be walking through fire with you. Therefore, danger is part of the transformation. It's part of the process of what they're paying you good money for. Basically, the transformation model for any earth rising sign out there is, write this down, my business model is rapid transformation from destruction to rebirth. This is what you're offering your clients. This is what you do for people. This is your service. But let's now talk about why this is so hard. There are two layers to why this is so hard. One applies to everyone, like earth sign, water, fire, air, rising, all of it. The reason for all of us, literally, why making wealth is difficult, astrologically speaking, like how astrology explains it, is because the 1st house, which is our sense of who we are, like this is who I am, right, is at odds with the 8th house, or in astrology language, it's an inconjunct. An inconjunction is like water and oil. I used to always use that as a kind of visual description of what inconjunction feels like. They're just like, they don't really mix well. They sit on top of each other, so there's never a sense of full embodiment. It can feel like it's not you. You haven't assimilated it. You haven't fully integrated it. But as a seasoned shadow worker, I can promise you that the point isn't to assimilate everything, because that is just like taking the definition out of it, taking the detail out of something and making it just like a one wishy-washy mess, or like, form. So the beauty and the point of shadow work is to say, well, this is sitting on top of me and it's part of me. It doesn't have to be fully assimilated for me to say I have integrated that part of me. Its power and the purpose of it is to sit on top of me. And then I promise you one other thing, since I've been doing this for a long time, eventually completely feels like you. Okay, so let's talk business now. I want to start just giving you some general tips on what kind of businesses you are, as an earth sign, you are meant to be growing, running. And then I'm going to go into the specifics of when you have Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Businesses that deal with fire, a human kind of fire, obviously the type of businesses that will bring you, that you're designed to make a lot of money from. So anger management, anger coaching, work that it's about ego death, but in a kind of very dramatic, very kind of intense way. Not a gentle ego death, not a long-term ego death. It's like a short, these are bursts, because we do not want to have a forest fires. Although that actually, the maverick in me always loves that. Why not? You know, we can probably have a business model that works with business fires as well, as in business fires. Freudian slip, like forest fire kind of business, meaning it's ongoing. But even that has a relatively short shelf life, unlike other businesses, other business models, rather, that I will talk about next week or the week after, when it comes to different signs in the 8th house. So it's always short. So one of the things you probably have experienced is that it's like, I never had the stamina. I never had the kind of, like, I have to, like, consistency, or to do a long-term something, because you're not meant to. You're meant to have like bursts, like a client for 6 weeks, for, you know, I don't know, 3 months. That's not 6 weeks, however many weeks is that, you know, not more than that. It's not meant to burn too much, like for too long rather, right? And the other thing I will add at this point, while we're still kind of general fire themes for the 8th house and money making, is the kind of clients you want. Tough clients. So this is the danger piece. You want clients, so the danger runs through all of this, through your marketing. You want to be upfront about it, and not as a way of scaring, obviously, people off, since you're not doing anything really dangerous. It's really about ego deaths, various sort of symbolic deaths and transformation, which means that something has to die. But it's the danger is the catalyst. The danger is the tool. It's the method, right, that you are using to transform your clients, right? With the fire, you need tough people in there. You are a tough cookie. If you have done your 8th house work, you really are. I speak from experience. Like honesty, directness, and truth of the 8th house, plus it's on fire. The house is on fire, right? Yeah, it's really not for the faint of heart. And when I was doing my businesses, I'll have a separate video about my own story, so I don't clog this space for you with my story, but it was one of my taglines, and it still is somewhere, and it will be back. I'm not for the faint of heart. And I'm not. So, like, when you enter my 8th house with me, be prepared for like some proper destruction. It's proper destruction, and then we are reborn. So it's amazing, really. It's gorgeous. But danger is there in your face. Okay. Now, specifically, so now I'm going to talk about if you have Aries in the 8th house, Leo in the 8th house, and Sagittarius. So if you have Aries in the 8th house, here are my 3 ideas for your business offerings: initiation, severance, and self-realization. So the transformation path for your initiation offer is from potential to action. So this would be like a traditional, almost like a coaching model, because at least in my day, when I trained to be a coach some 10 years ago, that was the onus, the emphasis was on doing. You need to get your client to do things. There's no other way to make any change. At the core of your work is like the thing you keep returning to as you work with your clients is like, they need to act. The client, right? You need to act. You need to have done. You need to come back next week or next day or however frequently you meet with them, with actually showing you the results of their action. Action is non-negotiable. So that's the ultimate Aries initiation. Like, you have to act. Also, coaching on like thinking before acting, no, that doesn't happen in Aries world of the 8th house, right? It's like you have to coach them, and you devise ways to bring them into a place and teach them how to do them more easily. So one of the things that Aries is great at is like, I jump and then think later. Think about it later. Like, I just, the space with you is to think later about it. And you just help them devise the action plan that is not too dangerous. Like, the danger is absolutely important, and there will be plenty of that. But obviously, like, you don't want to stretch them too far, obviously, any human. But you need to stretch them. They need to be stretched. So now the second idea, as I said, which was called severance. Here, the path of transformation is from stagnation to vitality. So this is an example. This is where rather we can actually have the forest fire, use forest fire as a symbol or symbolic representation of this particular path of transformation, because that's what nature does. the fire helps nature and earth to kind of like something has been now outdated and outstayed their welcome, and they need to be eradicated, like completely. And then the forest fires just like demolishes the whole piece of land, huge piece of land, right? But then just so that I can, from that burning, right, there is nutrients in there, and there are, that will help the new soil to be repopulated with healthier, newer life, right? So this is what you're doing with your client, because stagnation usually suggests there's been something that's been there for a long time, so you need a bit of a more sweeping, more dramatic, and that's the language. You want to use the drama language. You want to do this kind of like, because I'm Sagittarius, therefore I'm a good example of that in the 8th house, Sagittarius. So like you want to use the language, you want to bring this fire energy of yours that is potentially somewhat hidden maybe in your experience of yourself so far, in your talking about your business, right? And yourself and your experiences of your own shadow work and all that, right? So back to the forest fires and the severance as another transformation path for your Aries 8th house, from stagnation to vitality. It's basically you're coaching your client to burn things to the ground that are structures in their life, and that could be an identity structure or an actual structure like relationship, or an actual house, obviously not to burn the house itself, but like to leave the house, to sell the house, for example, right? So, but you're essentially you're coaching them and preparing them and guiding them and walking with them, walking through that fire of burning it all down so the new life can grow. And then my third suggestion, self-realization. The path of transformation is from nobody to actualized presence. So here you're helping the client to forge new identity through direct conflict with their environment. Now I say conflict, but really it's contact. But because there is a change happening, it's typically conflicting in the sense that the environment is used to a certain way of that person being. Now there is a change, that's a conflict, because the environment is not on board yet, or hasn't got a memo, or doesn't know how to respond to the change, right? So that's why I insist on conflict. And again, always choose like really like powerful, dangerous words in your material, in your marketing, right? Because that is what you're doing, and you're therefore attracting those tough clients who, tough by that I mean just like who love danger, or rather who are comfortable with it, who are prepared for it, who, you want them to be prepared for this confrontational style, really. Not that you are arguing with them, that's not a confrontation, it's just that they're confronting themselves in very unmitigated, unsubtle, like a fiery ways, like there's nowhere else to look, but just like these flames, burning your face, right, or whatever. Now, Leo, and my 3 ideas for your business offerings: sovereignty, expression, and generosity. For sovereignty, the path of transformation you're walking your client through is from, as in you're taking them from external validation to internal sense of sovereignty. So one way of doing this would be to, you're helping them essentially by coaching them, let's say again, authenticity, like how to be authentic, how to feel comfortable taking up space, how to feel comfortable being center stage. But essentially you are doing authenticity coaching, taking up space coaching, shining your light kind of coaching, and devising exercises, experiences for a client to put them through that particular fire, right? Now, expression has the path of transformation from raw passion to masterful artistry. So here in this business offer, you are helping your client move away from the fleeting, sporadic, whimsy, like on a whim rather, sorry, I think that's a different thing, on a whim kind of creativity to sustained creativity. And what that would look like, you would be helping your client understand what it is that keeps them engaged with the project. What are those things that they really love doing? The ultimate priority for this particular offer is to get them to stay with it, and they will want to stay with it once they found what it is for them. So you're helping them find what it is for them so they can sustain their creative output. And lastly, for your generosity offer, the path of transformation is from self-preservation to open-heartedness. So specifically, your work with them will be around passion, cultivating passion, coaching them around passion, like how they can open up to it, to their own passion. this is nothing to do with creative projects, or it could be, but it's like just a passion for whatever, for life, for themselves, for something, right? They will, digging deep into that, what that is, and then letting that open, and those flames start to, what do flames do? Just flame. I don't know, is that a verb as well? And then also confidence coaching, like so they feel confident that they want that the thing they're preserving, their heart and their generosity, and it's a generosity of spirit. It's not a maybe they have a thing about generosity that they will give and then they will be left abandoned, or the thing will run out. They will not have if they give, all those things, right? So it's not about giving out to someone. That comes as a kind of side effect of giving to themselves, as you I'm sure know. So it's like your coaching or your work with them is around those themes. And last, but by no means least, Sagittarius in the 8th house. My suggestions for you, ideas I have to suggest to you for your business offerings if you have Sagittarius in the 8th house, are adventure, understanding, and integration. The adventure offer has a path of transformation from hubris to breakthrough. Here you're helping clients get over themselves, not take themselves too seriously. Now, this is what I mean, why it's so hard, particularly for an Earth rising sign, right? To work with your 8th house energy, which is the energy that you, us Earth sign rising, are best set up to provide as a transformation model for anyone who can take it, who is willing, right? Is because like you really make fun of, like, in such a kind of bold and in your face way, like cheeky, like teasy, like making light of something that it's like not at all light subject, right? But in a way that it's like super confident. When you do your 8th house really well, your confidence can be overpowering, not just yours to your clients, certainly not to your clients, definitely not, but like to the audiences who might, those ones who find it that way would obviously not become your clients, but who are attracted to that 8th house fire confidence. It's the next thing. It's the next level. So just don't hide it. Don't hide it in your business marketing, right? So when I say get over yourself, it should be, because that would be my tagline amongst others, because I'm Sagittarius in the 8th house. So yeah, I'll happily do it, and I will be doing it. Not here, but more on that another time. So yeah, so just if you have Sagittarius 8th house, then you really want to kind of almost be arrogant. Not quite, because that's not a good look, but like just really be extra confident that whoever is listening, they will just laugh with you, or will be like tickled by it and be like, okay, right? That kind of thing, right? So just trust it. So anyway, back to the adventure, and from hubris to breakthrough. Hubris is very much like, it's a Sagittarius word, but it's essentially, we all have it. You don't have to have any Sagittarius, which is obviously impossible, but you know what I mean? It's just anyone who's just like a bit too stuck and too serious about themselves, and just a little bit too, not arrogant actually, but like pompous is maybe more the word, and kind of wouldn't dream of seeing themselves in some, pantyhose or whatever silly outfit to be jumping off cliffs or something, right? Whatever. So, but that's just like so blah, bloated and stuck and blah. So breakthrough, and you get them to that. And so what you're doing, you're devising, this is the biggest thing, and I've done stuff like this and it's amazing. So it's creating experiences for clients, for people, to put them through an adventure-like journey of like a discovery, of search, of like a treasure hunt or something. But the journey is treacherous. That's important because it's the 8th house, right? So the journey is treacherous, but it's fun. They will feel it, and they will, that's my point. You talk about it in those ways, and it's not fun for everyone, but for those who can see that, can vibe with that, it touches them in a way that they will feel already like a mini breakthrough are having. They'll be queuing up at your door and paying the big bucks, as I said earlier, for that work with you. Now, my second suggestion for your business offer, understanding, has a path of transformation that takes your client from narrow-mindedness to expanded consciousness. This, I would say, could and should be more heavily rooted in teaching and study or philosophy, but some sort of philosophical conversations, So you have to be versed in philosophy, but not, again, it doesn't have to be a traditional sort of philosophy, but just a philosophical mindset that questions everything, kind of like just unpicks things, so in order to open the mind and expand the consciousness. This could be obviously the kind of Eckhart Tolle kind of philosophy of consciousness, right? And also then teachings, so both, like the conversations with the client, but also teaching. I think it could be a good thing would be to have a structured experience here, because they're very close-minded, or they are close-minded, and so they need to kind of feel held more to get to the other place of expandedness, right? Expansion. And I would say that you should add experiences here as well, because this is a Sagittarius house for you, right? But it is your services that you're giving them. So you want to bring in some, like, to get them to act in a way, like to experience this. So incorporate that, and not in a sort of Aries ways, like get them to do, so many press ups, or mental version of that, but like an experience, like it can be even virtual, like of a different culture, or have a group of people with different opinions and different mindsets and different, morals or whatever, right? These are all Sagittarius words. Have that like a workshop. So that is your second business offer, understanding. And my last suggestion for Sagittarius 8th house, integration, has the transformation path from that you're taking your client from fragmented data to holistic truth. In other words, they are very, like, the sense of self or the world or both, and the sense of meaning that they have around life, what life is and all that, right, is sort of eclectic to the point that it's really more, not so much eclectic, because eclectic would suggest intentional choosing and picking, which essentially it's, I think, what everyone ultimately is doing. But anyway, this is less conscious, basically. It's always moving from a less conscious state to a more conscious state. That's the evolution piece, right? So the fragmented data that they build the world around them and themselves from is fragmented, in the sense it's somewhat disconnected, and yet they're holding it together. And it's disconnected because it hasn't been thought through properly, has been inherited, has been lazily accepted, and whatever, right? However that fragmentation happened. And so you're moving them from that state to a holistic truth. And it's obviously very personal truth, because Sagittarius is all about the lowercase t, not the capital T truth. And so it's holistic in the sense that it's theirs. So it's holistically theirs, but it's theirs. And the way I feel the best way to serve this client would be with services and offerings that are around storytelling, or rather story retelling, and it's about rewriting. So it's like looking at what they have, so telling that story as it is, the fragmented data story. And I would always start with that, with the unconscious state, not dismiss it, very much sit with it, because partly the work will be done through just like being in that space and being very conscious, becoming rather very, or more conscious than the client has been up until that point. So in this case, you want them to really look at all the fragments, and some of them may be uncomfortable to look at. Hello, we're in the 8th house, right, of the transformation work and the fires and the dangers, right, we talked about at the beginning. But that will be very integral to this work. And then as they're unpicking the fragments and looking at them, they will probably drop instantly, some of them, right? They will realize, oh my God, I didn't even know I had this here. And of course it was like, making me uncomfortable. I couldn't, whatever, right? And some others will have to have more work. And then what's left will probably be stuff that's distorted, but it's still their own. But also all the empty space that's now been created, but all the stuff that they dropped will then become a space for them to bring the stuff that was probably queuing up in their consciousness, in their awareness, somewhere, hidden maybe in the basement of their psyche more, right? And will fill that space. And now they have a rewritten meaning and truth about themselves, of themselves, for themselves, right? And that is how they have integrated, because the thing is called integration, the thing being the offering that you're creating for them. Okay, that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. I found it really helpful for myself. So let me know in the comments how this resonates. Like, you know, have you had any aha moments? I'd love to know. And especially if you actually go ahead and do create some of these offerings.